Hello? Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to wait just a few minutes and get started, I would say in 4 or 5 minutes. If you could, it looks like some of you are already doing, please put your name and your organization in the chat box. This will help me make sure I get everyone's name recorded and that we get attendance, the evaluation survey, and hopefully an attendance certificate to everyone. We'll get started in just a little bit.
All right, Rebecca, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. I'll just sit back and wait.
Yes, yes. I'll just get us started with a brief welcome, and then I'll turn things over to you, and I'll let you introduce yourself however you'd like, and take it from there. Thank you, everyone, for putting your name and organization in the chat. It's also helpful if you give your email address. Thank you for the reminder. I think I forgot to say that before. I'm so excited about this launch today and looking forward to our time together. Everyone should be muted as they join us. If you aren't, I'm going to go ahead and mute you, but if you want to say something, just raise your hand and let me see, or put something in the chat. We are expecting about 50 people, so it's going to be a lot of people, and so the easiest way for us to communicate would be to raise a hand, or probably even better, type something in the chat, and I'll help Pebam know when folks are asking questions. And then we can unmute you so that we can have a conversation. I worry about all 50 of us getting excited and asking questions at the same time.
Can you tell how many people are on right now?
Right now we're at 37. Okay, and we're at 12:02. So I think a few more people will join us, and I will go back and check my email to make sure that everyone has links and no one's having any problems. For now, let's get started. I am so excited to launch this new ECHO endeavor called our Indigenous Women Wellness ECHO. Wayside Recovery Center is serving as kind of a facilitator, a host, but the real work is being done by partners, American Indian Family Center and the Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center, as they develop the content and find speakers and provide the expertise for our ECHO sessions. We plan that this series will run once a month, and hopefully the last Tuesday of each month. And again, we're just very excited to have you here. Please know that if there are topics that would be helpful to cover, things that may have come up in your practice or work that impact women of Indigenous background, and you've always wanted to know, this is the place to ask. We can have these conversations, because I think that we're all working toward the same goal, and that is healing and doing that in a culturally appropriate way. So with that, I am going to turn things over to Pebam, and he will do a little more to introduce you to himself and to the day. And again, we don't plan to take a break, but do have 2 hours scheduled together. And if you have comments or questions, put them in the chat and I'll help facilitate that. Thank you. Go ahead, Pebam.
Big wedge. All right, I am going to start talking, and if nobody cannot hear me, let Rebecca know. And so far, nobody's letting you know. Is that right, Rebecca? Okay.
Sorry, yes, they can hear you. I'm not seeing any comments.
All right, good. All right. So I am about 2 weeks. I got 2 weeks worth of experience with Zoom, and I only imported Zoom into my computer yesterday. So I'm pretty new at this. So I've been fooling around with it. Rebecca and I yesterday were fooling around with it and trying to figure out the many features that it has. So I'm excited about this. There's a lot of possibilities here. I'm going to talk to you a little bit first of all in Ojibwe, and then I'll translate what I said. Asema hingimaji an ho'omaje ba jibwa mach tayang mino etasha ingit kobina mitegwa kik batishindaman mitegwa kik agi kwewinan ejinikate again. Itasha niwen indayanan winzonan. Emame benes, shwe benes, manitu gije kisheba animad. Bishua au endotem. Negigon smidika negijinikate ishkonigan wenjian jagana shir kink. Indayenda itashama kakabi kan ejinikate ga kichi odenan. Gijoini migo emam betewi ganing. Gibin the game my new wing. Gin new bete and good thing in the kid. Misa, yeah, what wind mine good. So I am going to translate what I said. First of all, this morning I had a Zoom meeting already with the staff at the American Indian Family Center, and where I offered up my tobacco. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you guys that can to get some tobacco and put it in your left hand. And you can get up and go get it, or you can go. And if you don't have tobacco, that's fine too. I have a song that'll rectify that. So that is. I also spoke. Told you what my Ojibwe name is. I have 4 of them, and they are Pebame Benes, Shewe Benes, Manitu Gishik, and Kisheba Animad. I also have a clan, which is the Lynx. Lynx is my clan. The community that I come from is called Negigon Siminikaning First Nation. And I also went through Medewin in order for my healing. And so that's what I shared with you in Ojibwe. I'm also a retired professor from the University of Minnesota. If I stuck it out 1 more year, I would have had 30 years of teaching experience. And I had a great career because I had an ideal job. My job was to teach language, culture, history, and spirituality. And basically, I learned about myself as I was teaching the language and the culture. And I've only ever had 2 jobs ever in my life. The first one was at Rain River Community College, and I see that Pam Hughes is online here, and she was one of my most promising students. I say that because she always promised to do her work. I don't hear any laughter, and then I realized you guys are all muted. So I spoke a little fun at Jennifer there. I mean, not Jennifer, but Pam. So that was my first job in 1985 until 95. And then I took a sabbatical and I went to Berkeley for 1 year. And then I came back and I was flying through Minneapolis and I got recruited to come and teach at the University of Minnesota in the American Indian Studies Department. And 2 things happened when I started working at the university. The first thing is that my workload got cut in half. In a community college system, you have to teach like 5 courses per session. At the university, all I had to do was teach 3. So I taught first year language, second year language, and then a course called Ojibwe Culture and History. That was the first thing that happened. The second thing that happened is I got a pay raise. And I went, wow, this is really ideal. I got my workload cut in half, and then I got a pay raise. Now that's the kind of job everybody should have. So at the University of Minnesota is where I really blossomed, and I developed a language program, and I was able to write books and articles and do various presentations and basically just teach everything that I taught at the community college level, but I taught it at a university level. And then in 4 years ago, I was being recruited to go and teach at Bemidji State University. Tony Choya, he was recruiting me. And he had a really great recruitment line. He said, come to Bemidji, we won't BS you. And I thought, BS you. All right, I got that. That was a good one. And so I decided, you know, the community college, I mean, the state system and the university are 2 different systems. So I wondered how that was going to affect my my retirement. So I went to the retirement people and I looked at what was happening. And what happened was I was eligible for an early retirement. And an early retirement, keep on teaching, I had to ask myself, what do I want to do here? Keep working or early retirement? That was an easy decision. So I retired, and I spent my first year of retirement making 16 blankets. That was the requirement for the 4th degree midday that I went through. So all year, you know, I pledged back in in August, and then September I started sewing, and I finished about 2 weeks before the ceremony in June. And I was really creative with my blankets. I spent all that time learning how to sew and being really creative. And around November, the cosmos opened up, and I started receiving all of these teachings and revelations and thoughts and ideas. And I thought, wow, co-creating. You know, my mother always said, if you wanted to heal, then you should make a blanket. And I really understood what she meant by that. And so I made 16 of them, and I pledged, and then I went through. And then in my first year of retirement, the first thing that I had to tell everybody was that I'm retired, and everybody wants to hire you. As soon as they find out that you're retired, you know, everybody wants to hire you. And so the first time,
You're muted.
all right, there I unmuted myself.
Yeah, I got muted.
Yep, there we go.
I'm good. No, do I have to say everything I said again, or when did I?
Let's see, where did he stop?
First time he got an offer after retirement.
Thank
Oh,
you.
okay, from Bemidji State University. Okay, so what Rebecca, what I'm trying to do is put myself up on the screen.
Oh, at the very top of your screen, there's speaker view. If you, of the black box,
Huh?
click on speaker view, it'll make you bigger. Do you want me to turn over the hosting to you so that you can put in other things like pictures and the other things you may have prepared?
Only when I'm ready to do that.
Okay, I make you a co-host. You go ahead.
So I'm trying to enlarge my picture. Enter full screen. Gallery view.
Up in the top right-hand corner, there should be a speaker view.
There's gallery view.
Okay, is there another option for you besides gallery?
Speaker view, yep. So when I hit speaker view, then you come on.
Oh, sorry.
Uh, are you doing it?
Does that look better?
Nope, I'm still on the right hand side.
Sorry.
You are up on the screen.
Each individual may need, if you want people to make it bigger, we can ask each individual to go to the top of their screen and click on the view button. Right now, we're probably in gallery, and if they click on speaker view, then you'll be large in their screen.
Okay.
So if we could all do that, that would be helpful. Go to the top of your screens, the black box with all of the little gallery pictures of us, go to the top, and when you hover up there with your cursor, you'll see a small box with some dots over the top, and it says speaker view. Click on that so that Peibam is larger and he can show you things.
Your speaker view, Rebecca.
Yep.
You're in large.
Oh,
Oh,
maybe
there
I
we
need
go.
to not talk.
Right, if you mute yourself, it'll probably stop.
All right, so I'm still trying to get in and I'm not in. I'm trying to get
We
myself
can see you
on.
now, Dennis.
Huh?
I can see your full view.
Okay.
This is your favorite student, Pam.
My most promising student. So basically what I'm trying to do is if I can see myself looking back at me, so I can talk about the items I have that are behind me. How do I do that?
Switch your camera. It's right above that switch to gallery view. That might help, but I'm not sure.
Okay. So we did this yesterday. I clicked on speaker view and then it shrinks. All right, this is fine. I can work with this. All right, so just coming up to the present. Currently, I'm 4 years into my retirement, and I started doing all the stuff that I've always wanted to do. So I went to the White Earth Urban Office, and I volunteered my services over there, and they put me. I started working over there, and I started working with doing recovery songs and teachings and everything like that. Anyways, that's the present. Now, did everybody get a chance to get some tobacco? Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the little boy water drum. When I got it, my cord came off. All right, so here is the little boy water drum, and I tied him up about an hour ago, and this is how he sounds. Can everybody hear that? Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is the tobacco that's in your hand, I'm going to ask you to do what I do. So when I sing the song, when I go like this, I'm putting my hand to the ground, and then the second part is I'm holding it up in the sky like that. And what we're going to do is we're going to send our tobacco first of all, is we're going to send it all the way around the world. And then we're going to send it all the way around the universe. And what we're doing is you are calling upon your helpers to come and part. What we're gonna do is we're giving ourselves permission to talk about the sacred. That's what this song is doing. And there's 2 tobacco songs we're gonna sing. This first one is called Nigani Asema. And the way that I learned this song was from Doreen Day. Now, Doreen Day and I are really connected. First of all, as far as I know, we're the only 2 people in Minneapolis that carry a water drum. And the second thing is we were born of the same year, on the same month, on the same day. Only difference is she was born in the morning and I was born in the evening. And so I call her my elder. She's about 12 hours older than I am. And so I ask you, what are the chances of that happening? You know, the only 2 people that have water drums and born on the same day and all of that. And I would have been really surprised if we would have said, and we're born in the same hour. That would have been really cool. Anyways, getting to know the little boy water drum, the way that I did that was I would invite people to my house. And what we did is every Sunday, we would practice tying up the little boy water drum. And then after we finished tying up the little boy water drum, then we would practice singing songs. And then slowly we realized that, you know, we're no longer practicing. We are doing this for real. And so pretty soon people started coming over, and traditional people with different gifts. And Doreen was one of them. She came over and she said, this is a song that you guys can use. And the song that she is called Nigani Asema. And what it does is you can't start anything without sending your tobacco forward. So for those of you that have tobacco in your hand, we're going to send it forward. We're going to send it all the way around the world and then all the way around the universe. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and sing this song. Nigani, 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 nigani asema, sema, nigani, nigani, sema, nigani. Mede waki kishibashka, mede gishigo kishibashka, nigani asema, sema, nigani, nigani, sema, nigani. Nigani, 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 nigani asema, sema, nigani, nigani, sema, nigani. Mede waki ishibashka, mede gishigo kishibashka, nigani asema, sema, nigani, nigani, sema, nigani. Kishibashka Mede Kishigo Kishibashka Nigania Sema Sema Nigani Nigani Sema Nigani 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 Sema Sema Nigani Nigani Sema Nigani Mede Wakin Kishibashka Mede Kishigo Kishibashka Nigani Sema Sema Nigani Nigani Sema Nigani Ikanagana. And so that tobacco song, the first one, is used in the Three Fires Society, that medicine lodge. And Doreen is part of that lodge. And this is often referred to as a Three Fires tobacco song. And so whenever you use a song, you should always talk about its origin, as to where it came from, and also as to how you began using it. So for me, I was gifted this song from Doreen, and she came to my house and she sang it, and she said, you guys could use this song. And I said, thank you. And so that's one of the songs that we started using on a regular basis. And then I go out into the community and I try and pass it on to other people. And some people in the Three Fires Lodge are very protective about this song. So if you want to use this song and you are in where there are Three Members Society members, you should ask them, is it okay if I sing this song that belongs to the Three Fires Lodge? Then when you get the okay from them, then that's up to you. When you use songs, you should be careful about how you use them. Get permission if you think you need to. And so that's why I gave you the history story of that song. The second song is currently number 1 on the top 10 Sweat Lodge Hit Parade. Just kidding. And we sing it at the American Indian Family Center. And they asked me to come over there, Maria and I, we started visiting with each other, and some of the other people started seeing what we were doing. And they said, we invited them into the circle. And pretty soon, every Wednesday now, between 11 and 12, we get together and we talk, we bring our sacred items and we practice and we learn these songs. And that's really cool, like learning traditional songs in a workplace. That is really ideal. That was what my teacher taught me how to do, how to incorporate spirituality and culture into your everyday life. Because back in the day, when we lived a traditional lifestyle, culture and spirituality was a way of life. And today, part of our evolutionary process, it makes sense to incorporate culture, history, spirituality into our workplace. And that's the natural process of evolution in my mind. So, second song we're going to sing. And for those of you that just joined, what we're doing is I have a little boy water drum here. And I tied him up this morning. And the ring around the bottom represents his name. And his name is Gibe Shigo Min. and it means we are all one. That's his name. So now what we did is we sent our tobacco all the way around the world, and we sent it all the way around the universe. And we asked our helpers to partake in this. We asked them to partake in this discussion we're having. So the next song we're going to do is we're going to invite them in. And this song was taught to me by my teacher. And my teacher is Tabasanakwat. And you know, when the student is ready, that teacher will appear. Well, I got clean and sober in 1985. And I've been clean and sober now for 35 years. And in 1985, that's when I started my teaching career. And that's when I decided, you know, I better clean up my life here. You know, I always told myself someday, you know, I'm going to pick up these traditions. Someday I'm going to be clean and sober. And all of us make those kind of promises, you know, someday we're going to do this. Someday we're going to lose weight. Someday we're going to do this. Someday we're going to do that. Well, in 1985, someday arrived, and I got hired on in teaching. And that's when my life changed. And that's when I started rebuilding the Anishinaabe within. And Tabasanakwat was a teacher that taught me how to incorporate all of this into the curriculum. And so he noticed that I was teaching a unit on the traditional use of tobacco. So what I did was he said to me, you know, you can use a song for that purpose. That's when I discovered that you can use songs for almost every purpose. You know, there's a song for birthing, there's a song for clans, there's a song for an Indian name when you receive an Indian name, there's a song for this, there's a song for everything. And songs are a higher level of prayer. When you speak, that's one level of prayer. But when you sing, that's a higher level of prayer, because what it has is this. It has that vibrational energy, and the vibrational energy of the drum is it permeates everywhere, and it echoes throughout the universe. When the little boy water drum sounds his voice, it echoes all the way throughout the universe, like that. So now, Tabasanakwat said you can use this song whenever you find yourself without tobacco. And all of us, you know, we often we get into situations where, you know, oh, I wish, like you're out in the woods and you see an eagle feather laying there on the ground, and you wish you had tobacco, and you don't have any tobacco. So he said that you can use this song whenever you find yourself without tobacco. So, and that's the tobacco Nagamun. That's the tobacco song. All right. So here's how it goes. So now all you're doing is visualizing your helpers, the ones that you called. What you're doing is you're visualizing them coming in. Okay, coming into where you are. They're coming to help you. Their only purpose in life is to help you. That's their only purpose. All right, here we go. Way I way, Yahweh ya I way yo. 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 Bindigen, wabeno we sema. Bindigen, shawanoga we sema. Bindigen, So that was inviting the spirits to come in. And what I'm going to do now is offer a little prayer for all of that tobacco that's in your hand and also the tobacco that I'm offering. I keep mine in a birch bark dish like this. Anishina, asema nagamun kama jiango ma nogum. Weweni ngambinda kuchige ma nogum. Ingagiza ma mitigwa kik. Migreche dashin de kit kayabi ishat ma nogo ma king. Bagone gijigong kibi onje ya. Nawa gijigong tashigaye. Migoy ma jis kaning hingi kagoy toy. Anindi kibi ishata au mitigwa kik. Migreche dashin de kit. Migreche kibi shigomin. Mitigo shinen ho ma nogum. Chi winda magiang. Chimino winda magiang. Chimino seike go yego gita shikamango ma nogum. Aha, migreche sema. And then the other thing I'm going to offer is I put together a spirit plate here. And there's a second one here. And this one has wild rice and moose meat in it. And this one has lots of fruit in it. And I'm going to offer a prayer for this also. Mi gwech adizokanag ka ganawena minangwa. We sinig ke ginawa pa enanchigeang ko ma. Now kwe we sinyag. Ngagizama metigwa kik. Ngagizama etashkaye ki do temiwa. Ninawa ki winsu inawa. Ninawa ga kina adizokanag ganawena migo yeg o ma no go. Misa ye wa windamagian mi gwech. All right, so I want to translate a little bit about what I said. So in the prayer with the tobacco, what I did was I offered this. I'm making this tobacco offering to all of the powers that be. And Gigapoginebe means those that sit in a sacred way with a pipe. So those are spirits. They sit with a pipe in their hand. And then Gigi Onaginebe is those spirits that sit with a dish. So the spirits, they sit cross-legged, and they sit with a pipe in their hand, and they sit with a bowl in front of them. So now what we did was we sent tobacco and we sent food to them in this prayer. And the other thing that I mentioned is I feed also all of your Indian names, all of your clans, and all of your helpers. So all of you that were sincere in your mind about your helpers and you're thinking about them, then they got fed. And after we're done here, whatever food that you eat now for the rest of today, you'll be feeding your helpers. And so the role that helpers have when we did the food prayer, it says, those spirit helpers that look after us, we partake of this food that I'm about to eat for this noonday meal. And so by saying that, and I said that on your behalf, your helpers are going to feed, they're going to eat. And so why do you do that? Why do you feed spirit helpers? And so depending on how sincere you are with your prayer, that's how it becomes individualized. So your helpers are your helpers alone. And that's a private relationship. That's between you and your helpers. And so you're born with them. They're always with you throughout your whole life. And people have lots of helpers. They are in the form of your Indian name, in your clan, in your ancestry. They're born into your family. If you carry a drum, there's a spirit in there. If you have a pipe, there's a spirit in there. You have eagle feathers, there's a spirit there. You're a jingle dress dancer, there's a spirit there. Any of your cultural items all have helpers attached to them. And so what this prayer does is it feeds them. And so depending on how often you do it and depending on your sincerity, what happens is all of a sudden their ears perk up and you get their attention. And then they said, hey, is that Paimon for real? You know, they start coming closer and they start coming closer and they start coming closer. So as often as you do it, you're calling them and they're coming closer and closer. And then one day you're going to wake up and you realize that they are inside of you. Because what they do is they go like this and they jump inside of you. And what are they doing inside of you? They are helping you achieve and attain whatever it is that you want in your life. You know, somebody once asked me, does that work at the casino? And I said, I don't know, go try it. I said, they're your helpers, you know, if you want help winning at the casino, go try it. And but I don't put criteria or conditions on people. It's up to you. It'll always be up to you. You know, how the relationship that you have with your helpers. They're all they want to do is help you lead a happy life, a joyous life, a free life, and a good life. That's all they're here for, is to help you do that. So what I do in my teachings is I wrote up that prayer and I wrote it in a book called the Mishomis. I have a book that I wrote before I retired, and it's called the Ga Inishinabe Moda. And the prayer itself is right in there. And this book is available at Birch Bark Books. And on page 15 is the actual prayer itself right there. And so what I did was I think you guys were just starting to look at it. And so in my retirement, you know, I wrote that book before I was retired. I wanted to give something back to the academy. I wanted to leave something of my legacy. And that book is a result of 25 years of teaching. And it's got a lot of good teachings in there. Birch Bark Books is owned by Louise Erdrich. So back to Little Boy Water Drum teachings. So here's the little boy. And there should be a star at the bottom. You guys see the star? That's where he's from. He's from the universe. And that's what the star represents. And so now, I'm just going to let him sit right behind us here. And maybe I'll move my camera so you guys can see him. There we go. And he is the one actually that is presiding over this meeting that we have. He's the one that's in charge of everything that we're going to be talking about. And so anything that we say and talk about now, also those of you, you know, with that tobacco offering, you are now connected to him. Noon is one of the power times of the day. The first one is in the morning. Second one is middle of the day. The third one is at sunset. And then the last one's at midnight. So if you are praying in earnest for anything in your life, try and time your prayers around those times. And noon, there's a noonday spirit that comes down. And his name is Nawakwe Gabo. Nawakwe Gabo. Nawakwe Gabo, Gibini Sabi, Oma, Bagunegi Jigong, Idashobi Odapinan, Sema, Gi Bagichigeta Mishinabe, Mino Bagichigan, Mino Wisniwen. Idashogi Odapinan, Idashogi Baba Migiwen, Akina Atsokana, Gigipagne Biwad, Gigionagane Biwad. Whoops, I didn't mean to switch into Ojibwe there. I'll translate what I said. During the middle of the day, and this happens every day at noon, this noonday spirit comes down from the sky. He comes from Bagune Gijigung, which is the hole in the day. And he comes down, and what he does is Nisabi. Nisabi means he comes down. And then he gathers all of the gifts that Anishinaabe is offering for that day. So he takes your tobacco, he takes your food, and he takes all of your gift offerings, whatever it is that you are offering. He collects them, and then he goes back up into the spirit world, and then he goes and hands them out. And he hands them out to whoever you prayed to. So if you know spirits by name, then those are the ones that are getting your gift that you're offering, your food that you're offering, the tobacco that you're offering. Whatever you are offering, that's what they receive, is through this, through at the middle of the day, noonday, Nawakwe Gabo, and that's the name of the spirit. Now, I was in ceremony when I experienced that. And experience, you know, is the best teacher. And so I'm in ceremony, and all of a sudden, my father and my mother were doing ceremony. I said, "Did you guys feel that?" And they said, "What? What happened?" They said, "All of a sudden, I just felt this great big rush from the sky come down." And my dad knew exactly what was going on because he was spiritually connected, and he knew that it was now Kwe Gabon that was coming down to pick up our offerings and then go and pass them on. And so that was my father and my mother's explanation of why you try and finish your ceremony before noon. Because after the middle of the day, the sun doesn't look back. It travels across the sky. So what do, you know, when you do ceremony in the afternoon or in the evening? Well, I listened to a medicine man, and what he did is he sent it forward so the next morning when the prayers were being rendered, they got picked up again. So you never really get lost. And then there's always a way with all of these teachings, you know, these water drum teachings. Let me talk a little bit about tobacco also. All of these things that I'm talking about came while I was singing. So I'm relaying them to you, mainly because somebody in the audience here is needing to hear some of this. So the way that I discovered that you can use tobacco long distance was my twin brother worked at Fond du Lac Tribal College, and he worked in the local area. And he called me on the phone one day, and he says, "Hey, Paybom, I'm at the hospital in Duluth." I said, "Are you okay?" He goes, "Oh yeah, I'm okay." He says, there was a family that came in from Grand Portage, and they had a baby that was born premature, and they asked me to name the baby. I said, "Really?" And then I said, "Well, did they give you tobacco?" And he says, "No, but I'll go in and get it, and I'll call you right back." I said, "All right." So he calls me back. I said, "All right, you got that tobacco in your hand?" He goes, "Yeah, I got the pouch right here." I said, "All right, open it up and take some tobacco out and put it in your hand." And he says to me, he goes, "Oh, you can do that?" And I smiled to myself and I said, "Any self-respecting Anishinaabe can bend time and space." I says, "Come on, Dano." And sure enough, it worked. You know, we did a little prayer, we did a little ceremony, and there was apparently a white owl that was following them when the people from Grand Portage came to the hospital. And then when the baby was born, one of the emblems on the card was a little white bird, and that was the name of the baby. You know, Upshkibene-Sik. That was the name of the baby. So it worked really. It was really cool the way that it worked. And since then, I've tried it out with different people. So I asked my mother long distance. Like, she really loves the little boy water drum. And I asked her long distance. Like, she was asking me, "Do you have the little boy water drum tied up?" I said, "Yeah, I do." I said, "Well, can you ask him something for me?" I said, "Why didn't you ask him directly yourself?" And she said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Put tobacco in your hand, and I will hit the drum 4 times, and then you can just talk out loud." And she goes, "All right." So she must think that the little boy water drum is deaf, because she starts yelling, "Neogesic, Gigagizamin, Asema Giminin." And she just starts yelling like that. And I said, "You don't have to yell. He can hear you. You know, he can actually even read your mind. You don't have to yell." And so I asked the medicine man in up in Canada. I said, "What do you do when somebody long distance asks you a question that requires tobacco?" He says, "What I do is I tell them to put it in the mail and mail it to me. And then I open up the package, and then I put that tobacco in my hand." And I said, "Would you like to try something different?" He goes, "Yeah." And what he did was, I said, "Put tobacco in your hand, and I'll put tobacco in my hand." So he went out to his truck, and he said, "All right." And then we started talking, and he went, "Cool." That's all he said, was "cool." And so long distance, you know, I said, "I got a question to ask you." And can you put tobacco in your hand? He goes, "Yeah." He said, "Because, you know, if you don't use tobacco, then all you're doing is just talking. And it doesn't really go anywhere. But if you got tobacco in your hand and you're talking, then it's going somewhere. You know, you're making those connections." So that's the importance of what we just did just now with that tobacco in our hand and singing the tobacco song. We gave ourselves permission to talk about the sacred, and we sent it forward. We offered food, we offered tobacco, and let me think about what else came while I was singing, sending the tobacco forward. Yeah, all right, that's about it. So all we did, that's just the beginning. You know, it took us an hour to do the opening. That was just the beginning. So now what I'm going to do is a lot was shared, a lot was said, and a lot was done in the first hour. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open it up for a little while. And if there's anything that I might have said that you need clarification on, and I'll just open it up for about 10 minutes. And then I got a little PowerPoint I want to show you. And then we're going to share the screen. So go ahead, Rebecca, and go ahead and coordinate.
Okay, so you can either type in or wave at me. If I can see you, I'd be happy to unmute you and have you join us in the conversation. Any questions about what we've done already this morning and its significance? Okay, got a question from B. Michaels. Let me unmute you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So what should we do with the tobacco that's in our hand? Should we burn it or can we go put it outside?
Whatever you do, don't eat it. What I do is I put mine in a birch bark dish.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow morning, what I'll do is when I make my tobacco offering, I go outside and I put it out first thing in the morning. But throughout the day, what it's going to do is it's going to sit right next to the little boy water drum. And so anything that's going on between us and you, it's going to continue. So what I always encourage people to do also is follow your teachings. You know, however your family does with tobacco, you should always ask your family, because when you follow traditions, you always need to stay true to your family. So however your family does it, that's what you should do with it. You can put it outside if you want, or you can put it on the east side of a tree. You can even put it in your pipe and smoke it like that. In our family, the ones that don't have a pipe, what they do is they roll it into a cigarette and then they smoke it that way. So there's a lot of ways to do it. And what I often tell people is, right here, ask your spirit, what should I do with that tobacco? Because when you ask yourself, then you'll learn to trust yourself. And that's where all of your answers are anyways. You already know the answers to all of the questions that you ever wanted to know. You just got to ask yourself. And there's no right way and there's no wrong way. There's only your way. So when you follow yourself, you be true to yourself, to thine own self be true. And if tobacco offering is new for you, then learn, ask other people, what do you do with tobacco? Like, and then the one that speaks to you, that's what you follow. Good question.
Which?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I'm not seeing any other questions in the chat. Am I missing anyone's? I don't have pictures for everyone, so I can't see all your hands. A lot of you are not using your camera if you have it. I think we can continue on.
All right. So I want to pull something up on my screen. How do I do that? So you're muted, Jennifer.
You're already a co-host, so you should be able to go down to the bottom where there's a little green box and it says share screen.
Oh.
Whatever is on your screen, we will see it.
Okay, but can I see it?
You should be able to see it as well.
Mm, can you see what I'm doing?
Not yet.
Oh,
Not yet.
all right. I am still working on it. All right, there it is. Can you guys see it?
Nope.
Wow, I wonder why not. I pulled it up on my screen.
You can see it, right? Now hit the share screen down below, the green box at the bottom of your black box with all our faces.
Hmm. I lost you guys. Where are you guys? Oh,
So at the bottom, there's that green box that says share screen of below all our faces and our names.
yeah, share screen, yeah.
And you click that.
Yeah.
And you should see somewhere in front of you the document that you're also looking at. There you go. There you go. You got it.
All right. So,
Then you just go to slideshow and start from the beginning.
okay. So it won't come up.
Sure, if you go over to the bar on to the left about the 1, 2, 3, 4.
There it is.
There you go. All right.
All right. So everybody can see this, I think. So what I'm working on is a lot of people have asked me to do this type of presentation. And I thought to myself, you know, it would be really cool if I could figure out how to do a PowerPoint related to the water drum teachings. So I only had since yesterday to try and throw something together. So this is just the beginning. And when I first learned how to do PowerPoint, I realized that you could make the words twirl. Ready? Check this out. Can you guys see that?
Yes, we can.
Oh. So I'm just showing off. So Extension for Community Healthcare Options, Waterdom Teachings by Thebam Ebenes. Yeah. So whenever we speak and whenever we talk, Ojibwe protocol is needs to be rendered. And so what is Ojibwe protocol? Well, the first thing is Anishinaabe wins a win. So when you are Ojibwe and Anishinaabe, I'm not too sure how universal these teachings are, but I call them spirit names. And whenever you introduce yourself in ceremony, you're required by protocol to announce your spirit name, especially when you're crawling inside a sweat lodge, and you can just tell people what your name is. I myself introduced myself by 4 names. I have 4 Ojibwe names, and people ask me, how come you got 4 names? And I said, because as a child, I suffered childhood trauma when I went to residential school. And there I was punished for speaking language, culture, history, practicing our traditions. I did not know a word of English when I went to residential school. And you can imagine the devastation I felt when I was told I couldn't speak the language and I was punished for it. So coming out of that experience, spirit names, Indian names, they have the power to heal. And in order for me to heal from my childhood trauma, I had to have each one of the spirit names accompanied by a spirit. So traveling Thunderbird is Pebame Benes. My father gave me that name. Shwe Benes and Manidu Gijik was given to me by Billy Blackwell. And then Kishaba Animad was given to me by Sanakwet, my teacher. So I carry 4 names, and that's how much spirit help I needed in order to get on my feet and be able to just participate in the world. So Indian names have the power to heal. Second aspect of Ojibwe protocol is Jigekikeni Magido Dame. You should always identify your family history. And the clan is the origin of your family history. And so, the clan system, a lot of people don't know this, but it used to be matrilinear. It used to follow the female. Today, it's matrilinear. And everybody thinks that you always have to follow the father's line, but not always. That's not the way it always was. It used to be the mother's line. So now that you know you can follow your father's clan or your mother's clan, then which one do you follow? Well, you actually have both inside of you. And you actually have 4. You have 4 clans inside of you. You also have your grandparents' clan inside of you. So that's in your ancestry. That's why in one family, you can have a brother and a sister have 2 different clans. It's because they decided either to follow the matrilinear system or to follow the patrilinear system. Okay, and all of it is true. All of it is there's no right way, no wrong way. There's only your way. So the clan system. The next one is the Shindan Andi Wenjian. Talk about where you are from. Or I'm going to switch dialects here. Aninde Wenjibayan. So talk about where you're from. So for me, I am from Nigigonsiminikaning First Nation. And what that means is everything that I talk about in terms of traditions, everything that I grew up with comes from my home community. So however people practice tradition in my community might be a little different from the way it's practiced in Lakota or Red Lake or whatever other communities people are from. And so when you start following traditions, what do you follow? Well, first you start with your family, then you make the circle bigger, and you start with the community, and then neighboring communities, and then somewhere in the Ojibwe Nation. It's the idea of going home. It's the idea of starting from what you know, from where you are at. So everybody needs to do that. Everybody needs to follow their family teachings. And then the last aspect of Ojibwe protocol is Anishinaabe Inadisiwin. And most of the time people will say, Ingi Medeo. They say, I am Medewin. And they say, oh, I'm first degree, or I'm second degree, or whatever degree that they are. Inadisiwin is like what part of tradition do you follow? So sometimes people will say, I am a pipe carrier, or they say, I am a sweat lodge keeper, or I keep an eagle staff, or I am a power dancer, or I am a jingle dress dancer. So Anishinaabe Inadisiwin is whatever part of your culture defines you. You know, whatever you feel proud of about your identity. People really feel proud about being Medewan. People feel really proud about being a jingle dress dancer, pipe carrier. So that's what they mentioned during Anishinaabe Atazuin. And they that's so those are the four aspects of Ojibwe protocol. And talk about those teachings. In my community, when I showed the little boy water drum to my mother, when I showed her the little boy water drum, she said, you know, your grandparents had 2 of those. I said, really? She said, yeah, there was a small water drum and a large water drum. Now, in Medewan, I see water drums that are huge, you know, the tall ones. And I was really pleasantly surprised to know when my mother said that my grandparents had both. They had the tall one and they had the short one. So this is how this works. Whatever is in your ancestry, you know, it'll come forward again. If your parents or grandparents or great-grandparents were name givers, then that gift is being passed on to you. If they were keepers of a drum, then that drum gets passed on to you. Whatever legacy that they've done, it gets passed on to you. And so the water drum, you know, was passed down to me through my great-grandparents because they were the ones that held on to these drums. But they hid them because they practiced it in secrecy, and it was they grew up at a time when it was being outlawed, so they hid these water drums and they kept them in hiding. And so I was very pleasantly surprised to hear my mother talk about that it's in my family. So whatever has been in your family, you know, gets passed down to you. You know, people are gifted more than they believe. People have the gift to practice traditions more than they believe because it's in your ancestry. It's in your genetic memory. That's where it's at. All right, I'm gonna move it on to the next one. So I asked little boy Water Drum, I said, where are you from? And he said, Andromeda. I said, Andromeda? I don't even know where that is. And so people ask him, how did he speak to you? And he speaks to me through telepathy, you know, in your mind. So how does that work? And you have to trust your mind, or you have to trust your thoughts. Like our elder, what he tells us is honor your thoughts, because that's how creation began. The creator had an original thought, and then he thought the whole universe into existence. And that's creation right there. So honor your thoughts. And so when you start honoring your thoughts, you know, don't naively believe what people tell you. And especially don't naively believe what you're telling yourself. You know, go check it out. Don't fall prey to your imagination. Because everybody wants to be great, right? What if you just made it up? So what you do is you go check it out. Go check it out. So in our community, question?
Yes, we have a question.
Oh,
Don,
good.
would you like to go ahead and ask your question? You just need to unmute yourself because I'm going to try to find you in the crowd. But if you can do it yourself, there. Is it Don Bowers? Go ahead. Don? Don may not have a mic. The question that I see here is, how can I get a native name? Actually, it came from Don Widener. How do I get a native name? That's the question.
The answer is nativenames.com. I'm just
Are
kidding.
you teasing us?
I'm just kidding. And so what you do, if you, and I am a name giver, and people ask me that question all the time. And so here's what I tell people. Take tobacco in your hand and go to an altar, whatever that is. And most of the time it's a tree, you know, and put your tobacco down on the east side of a tree and ask the powers that be and say, I am looking for a native name. Can you help me? So what you're actually doing is you're asking your spirit inside of you that question, because you and the universe are one. You're connected. And so you're asking that question and you're putting it out into the universe. Then what you do is you pay attention. You pay attention for 4 days. You pay attention to your dreams, your visions, the people that come up to you, and your answer will be, your question will be answered. And all you got to do is pay attention to that, to the answer. In your dream, you might say, it might, the way that people usually ask is, you ask the people that are in your family. There's somebody in your family that knows how to give native names. So you ask people in your family. And it's usually grandparents. And if you can't find somebody in your family, then you make your circle bigger and you ask somebody in your community. Because when you get a native name, you got to follow the traditions of your name giver. If your name giver follows traditions a certain way, then you're making a pledge to follow that person and follow the teachings the way that they practice tradition. So I tell people, be careful, you know, who you ask, because you're going to have to, whenever you get sick, they're going to be doctoring you. Whenever you need a feast of some kind, that's who you ask, is that person. And then if you can't find anybody in your community, then you make your circle bigger and you ask somebody within the nation that you come from. And if you can't find anybody there, it's somebody in the world, you know, knows how. So we all need mentors. We all need teachers. We all need somebody to guide us in our walk. The best guide is in here, right here, inside of you. That's where the best guide is. Your guide will never mislead you. So there's the answer to your question.
Thank you.
So Don, was that you that asked that question?
It was me.
Okay, good. I can see
Thank you.
Yep. Yep. So here's what I'm going to encourage you to do. If you guys don't ask me anything, I'm just going to keep on talking. Good deal? All right. I'm going to keep on talking. So feel free to ask anytime you want. So does everybody still see the Andromeda constellation up on your screen?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So I asked boy Waterjum, where are you from? And he said Andromeda. And I did some tradition. I didn't know where that was, so I did some traditional Ojibwe research, and I Googled it. And this is the image that came up, was this image of Andromeda. And Andromeda is billions of miles away, and light years even. And in 1 billion years from now, the Milky Way and Andromeda is going to merge together. And so the website that I looked at even identified how fast it's coming towards us, but that won't happen for 1 billion years. And so don't fall prey to your own imagination. So I went to a shaking tent and I went and asked, by the way, this is what Andromeda would look like if the night sky would look like if the Andromeda galaxy were brighter. This is what it would look like. So I went to a shaking tent ceremony, and I went and asked in Ojibwe, "Kege tego ina wasa imash me bionje ya me tego kick." And I said, "Is it true that this little boy water jump came from up high in the universe?" I didn't know how to say Andromeda in Ojibwe, so I asked that question, and the answer that I got is, "Kege migo amao now gi shigun bionje ya kina me tego kick." I went, "Wow, really?" And the answer was, all water drums that are here all came from the center of the universe. And I went, the center of the universe, wow. And so I asked little boy water drum, I said, "Why are you here?" And the answer was, "I am here to elevate humanity. I am here to help with the evolution of humanity. And evolution is a process of spiritual enlightenment. And so the message that Little Boy Water Drum has is to come here and to help us grow and to help us in our spiritual growth." And I said, "Wow, you got a big mission. You got a lot of work to do." Because about 85% of the world right now lives in fear. Otherwise we wouldn't be so bent out of shape by this pandemic. 85% of the world lives in fear, and that's why we fight each other. And so what happened was right after the Second World War, the Mother Earth, she called out to her galactic relatives, and she said, "Help, help me. My children are destroying me. Help me." And so the universe responded, and they came towards Earth, and they cannot show themselves. So how do they come here when they arrive? When they arrive, they incarnate into us as human beings. So I was telling that story at a Wild Variety meeting, and this little boy, maybe about 3 years old, and there's maybe about 50 people in the room, and he gets up without saying a word, and he goes around and he starts shaking people's hands all the way around the room. And what he was saying was, yes, what Peibam is saying is true. I came from the universe, and I'm here to help. I'm here to help with our evolution. And shortly, about a couple of months later, he gave me tobacco, and he asked me for an Indian name. And the name, naturally, is Gi Shigu Inini, Starman, because he came from the stars, and he came here to help. So during right after the First World War, that's when the first wave of helpers showed up, and then a second wave showed up, and then a third wave. The first wave of helpers that showed up, they're in their 60s now. The second wave that showed up, they're in their 20s, and the third wave that showed up, they're just being born. They're young children, and they're here to help us. The other thing that I saw in my vision was I saw a whole bunch of water drums lined up, and they're all coming here. They're all coming to Earth. And they came from that Andromeda. So I asked the little boy water drum, I said, how did you travel here? And the answer I got was, at the speed of thought. I said, the speed of thought, holy man, that's even faster than the speed of light. And so apparently you can project yourself anywhere you want in the universe by projecting your thoughts. Man used to evolve, had evolved to that level one time in our evolution, and then destroyed itself when Atlantis fell. So we have the capability and the gift to do that. is travel that way. So that's how he came, was at the speed of thought, and he's here to elevate humanity. And the children are already showing up, and I'm starting to see them as they start growing, and like the young boy. So there's another constellation in the sky, and this constellation looks like this. It's got 3 stars across the top, and it's got 2 on each side. And little boy water drum, you know, I attribute this teaching to him, because I didn't know this before I started working with the little boy water drum. And you know, when the little boy, I got to tell you how he came to me. So there was a man, his name was Bob Aiken, and his Ojibwe name was Benesi. And when he retired, he, in his own, this is his own words, what he said was, I became Indian when I retired. And a lot of us, you know, do that. We put off our spiritual growth, our spiritual development, being a pipe carrier, sweat lodge keeper, jingle dress dancer, Indian names, anything of our spiritual nature. We put it off into the future. You know, someday when I retire, when I got time, then I'll do it. And so he was a good example of that. And he retired, and I saw him at a language table, and he really like learned Ojibwe. And I said, you know what? At the University of Minnesota, we have a scholarship, and you should apply for it. And so he applied for it, and he got it. And he spent 2 years learning Ojibwe. And then at the end, I said to him, there's one more course that you should take. And this course is called Ojibwe Culture and History. And so Ojibwe Culture and History. He took it. And then at the end of that class, what he says to me, he says, hey, Paybon, I got a gift for you. And out of the blue, I just said, what is it, little boy water drum? And he said, yeah, how did you know? I said, I didn't. And so I took the gift home, and I went home to my wife, and I said to my wife, I said, guess what? One of my students gave me a gift today. And she said, what is it, little boy water drum? And I said, how did you know? And so I asked my teacher about that. And he said the little boy water drum had already announced his arrival ahead of time. That's what he did. Now, I'm going to jump back about 10 years. So I'm fasting, and I go fasting every spring. And for the last 25 years, that's what I've done, is I've gone fasting. So I'm out fasting. And everybody, after the fast, you know, they talk about their experience. And one of them said, as I was sitting on the island, I saw this eagle flying around, and he was circling me. And the next thing I saw was he dropped an eagle feather, and that eagle feather fell down on the water. And I watched that eagle feather all afternoon, and it floated to the shore. And this is the eagle feather. And then he showed it to us. And I said, wow. You know, the only thing that happened to me was this dumb bird sat in a tree and just sang. And the song that he sung was, now, in Ojibwe, that's called Anak. And I think that's the ruby-throated warbler, red-throated warbler. I think that's the English name. So what was he saying when he sang that song? So he was singing. That's the way that he sang. So what he was singing was, Nil gote gijik, 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 gijik. There are 4 levels of the sky, 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 sky. And I thought, wow. So jump back ahead 10 years ahead of time. And so this little boy water drum is in my house. And I have a dream about 4 little cedars inside the sweat lodge. And I asked my teacher, what does that dream mean? And he said, that is the name of your drum. And Neo Gijik is the name of the first water drum that arrived. The one that Benesi gave to me and gifted to me. The name of the little boy water drum is Neo Gishik. 4 levels of the sky, or 4 cedars. It's got a dual name. So what I do is I take 4 little cedars and I put them inside the little boy water drum, because that's his namesake. And that's how he doctors people. He doctors people through cedar. And the water itself is powered up water, cedar water. So now we have a ceremony called the Cedar Healing Ceremony. And we do that once a month here in Minneapolis. And we get quite a turnout. And Little Boy Water Drum does the initiating of doctrine. And because cedar is his medicine, and that's what's inside of him, and that's how he heals and doctors people. Well, back to this constellation here. So that's how that Little Boy Water Drum came to me. For 4 years, he sat in my cupboard because I was too afraid, you know. When I talk about fear teachings, I talk about me. For 4 years, I just sat with the Little Boy Water Drum, and my teachers kept asking me, so, are you going to tie up the Little Boy Water Drum? And I kept telling him, not today. And I kept putting it off and putting it off. Same way that man kept putting off his knowledge. So I kept putting it off and putting it off. Till finally, you know, I went through the 4th degree midday, and I brought the Little Boy Water Drum with me. And he went through the same initiation with me. And now I had 4 of those little Negus shells inside of him to commemorate the 4th degree that he and I went through. And so that's when everything started happening. You know, that's when I started receiving all these dreams and visions, and everything was complete. One of them is the one that you see on the screen right now. There are seven stars in this constellation, and it's in the form of a sweat lodge, and it's called Manidu Wigamig. And Manidu Wigamig means sweat lodge. And in between lives, you know, we've all died and we are born again. And then we die and we're born again. And every time we do that cycle, we elevate our spiritual growth. Nobody can evolve in one lifetime. That's why we keep coming back. And that's why we keep coming back to keep trying it. Because evolution is inevitable. No, we're going to become light beings. We're going to become spirit beings, because that's the destiny of humanity. We're going to become spirit beings. And in between, stand in front of the 7 grandfathers, and we evaluate our lives. Mary, do you got a question?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. So, like I say, anytime you guys got a question.
I just had a comment. This particular constellation I drew when I was in Thailand, and I was there in 2004 when the Asian tsunami came. And this was a constellation I saw in the sky on the back of a bike about a week before the wave hit on December 26th. And what's interesting is that experience that I had being there when all that happened. When I came back to kind of to life and came back to America, it always felt really surreal, like I had, you know, passed a life there or something. So this is really blowing me away today.
Oh, wow.
So thanks for sharing it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh. I like blowing people away.
Thank you.
You just affirmed for me that these teachings are universal, and that everybody has these experiences. And that's what I've always believed, that these teachings that Little Boy Water Drum has taught me are actually available for everybody. You know, that's why I got no problem talking about these through technology called Zoom. And that's why I'm preparing this PowerPoint. So, in between lives, we stand in front of these 7 grandfathers. And there's no judgment in the afterlife. You know, nobody's going to judge you. you evaluate yourself. These 7 grandfathers, what they do is they give you gifts as to help you to attain your spiritual growth. They give you and they help you. These are elevated beings, these 7 grandfathers. They belong in the 6th, maybe even 7th dimension, and that's how they teach you. So in between lives, so when you come down to live on Earth, the veil, you know, is dropped over your head, and you forget everything. So the 7 beings, what they said was, build a sweat lodge, and when you are inside the sweat lodge, the first 7 grandfathers that you bring inside the sweat lodge, that'll be us, and we will come and we will remind you of what your original teachings are. We will remind you as to why you came here. So when you go to a sweat, the veil that's covering you slowly gets lifted, and then all of a sudden you have insight into, oh yeah, that is what I'm supposed to be doing. You know, maybe a pipe will appear to you while you're in the sweat, and you promised that you were going to be a pipe carrier. Or in the rocks, you see images inside the rocks, and then you say, that's what I came here to do. So what you're doing is you're reminding yourself of why you came here. So when you're inside the sweat lodge, that's what those 7 grandfathers said that they were going to do. They're going to remind you of your original teachings. And so this constellation, you know, has a Latin name. It's called Corona Borealis. And it seems like if you name something in Latin, it makes it more authentic. Corona Borealis. And so Manidu Wigamigi is the name of this the sweat lodge in the sky. Oh. So, Little Boy Water Drum showed me these teachings. He taught me that. Before he came, I had no idea about this constellation. And that's Paybomb saying, yep, we're done. All right, so you're going to have to walk me through this again. Now, I want to get back to another part of my screen here. So Rebecca, walk me through.
All you need to do, yep, end the slideshow and then bring up the document that you want to go back to. Yep.
So how do I get out of this?
Just go up and exit. Up in the top right-hand corner, there's an X. There you go.
Okay.
And you're still able to share something else if you'd like.
I do, but I'm just going to open it up for questions for us right now.
Okay, good. We've got about 20 minutes left.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone have any questions?
Comments are also good.
I do. Hi, my name is Yolanda. Let me put my screen on here. Hi, my name is Yolanda. Thank you so very much. I've always been interested in the Native American culture. I had the chance to go to up north to a Indian reservation, and I was just blown away a couple years ago. And I had been, since a little girl, wanted to go. But I was interested in some teachings and just want to know more about like saging and things like that. And how would I go about finding out the proper way, like to sage, for instance?
Ah, yep, that's a good question. Everybody's got to start somewhere, right?
Right.
So I always tell people, go to the source.
Okay.
Right? So the first thing you're going to do is go look for where it grows.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So, yeah. But I'm going to walk you through. There's like 3 or 4 steps here.
Okay.
So the first one is find out where it grows. Now, when you pick it, when you pick sage, you shouldn't pull the whole root up. So you got to learn how to pick sage. So what you do is you snip it right where it grows. And
Mm-hmm.
you leave the roots. You leave the roots in the ground
Okay.
so that it'll grow again the following year.
Okay.
Okay. Next thing you do is you take the maybe about seven sticks and make it into a bundle. And at the end of it, where the roots were, you tie it up, and then you hang it up, and you let it dry for about 1 moon cycle. And you let it
Okay.
dry. You let it dry. Throughout the whole process, you know, you're offering tobacco, you're praying, you're talking to the sage. So what you're doing is you're going to let the sage teach you.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what I mean by going to the source.
Okay.
And after 1 moon cycle, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because that's a good measurement of time.
Mm-hmm.
Moon as a way of directing and redirecting your activities. Once it's dry,
Mm-hmm.
then you take the leaves off of the stems, and they're nice and brittle by then.
Mm-hmm.
What you do is you take some in your hand, and what you do is you roll it like this into a circle.
Mm-hmm.
And then you take a match and you light it up, and you wash yourself with the smoke.
Right.
And you get yourself a little abalone shell or a little smudge bowl of some kind. And then when you use the smoke, then you talk to the smoke, and you talk to the sage. And everything that you just asked
Mm-hmm.
is go directly to the source.
Okay.
Talk to the sage.
Okay.
And then after that, it gets all personalized. Like people start adding different things to it.
Mm-hmm.
They add cedar sometimes. They add bear root. They add beaver castor, all different stuff to it.
Mm-hmm.
And people have some really cool mixtures.
Mm-hmm.
I know that Nelda and Maria has some really cool mixtures also.
That makes so much sense. Okay.
So when you get the process started,
Mm-hmm.
then you start visiting elders.
Okay.
And you start asking people, hey, you know, I went and picked some sage and this is what I did. And what can you do to help me understand this?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you lay yourself a foundation first.
Okay.
And then whatever speaks to you, that's how you start doing it.
Got you. Okay. Makes sense.
And that's a good way to do with almost every and any tradition.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got to ask yourself, do I have a problem practicing this if I'm non-native?
Okay.
So the only person that can answer that question is you.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Absolutely.
I don't have a problem with it,
Absolutely.
but then I'm not the authority either.
Right.
I laugh whenever people say, Paybom said. even before they finish, they say, Paybom said, oh, must be wrong then. Nobody is an authority. You are on the authority of yourself.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
all right, thanks for asking. All right, anybody else?
I think it's quiet. We can, if somebody writes in or lights up, we'll get it through, but I think.
All right, I am just going to keep going then. Yeah. All right, so. All right. I'd take my microphone off so I wouldn't pull it off of the screen. So I have this container here. And this container is full of stones. I don't want to turn it over anymore because it's all going to drop on my lap. Okay. And these are like, what stones do you use when you put together a little boy water drum? You know, what are the stones that you use? So when Tabasanakwat was teaching me, he gave me 7 crystals. And he said, here, put this in your bundle. You'll know what to do it, what to use it for. And this was like 20 years before the water jump came into my life. And I have never known what to do with those crystals, but they were in my bundle. And then when the drum was given to me, there were 6 stones in there. And I was told, you got to go find the 7th one. So what the Basanaka told me was, go to the beaches that are on Rainy Lake. Rainy Lake is the lake that my community is from. So that summer, I went visiting all the beaches that I could see, and I went looking for stones. And what I was looking for was I had 6 of these, but I needed a 7th one. And so all summer long, I couldn't find them. Finally, I went to Shaking Tent, and I went and asked, like, where is this 7th stone that I'm looking for? And in ceremony, I was told, they're right here. And I didn't understand that answer. They're right here. So the next morning, the guy that runs the Shaking Tent, he gets up, he takes a walk down the beach, and he picks up a stone, and he says, is this what you're looking for? I said, yeah, that's what I'm looking for. And all he did was get up. Like, I spent all summer searching every beach that I could see. He gets up in the morning, takes a walk down with his coffee, bends over, and he picks it up. Is this what you're looking for? And there it was. And so that began, that was the 2nd set. Now, I have a whole bunch of different sets of 7 in terms of stones. And I'm gonna tell you a story. See how small that is? Everybody can see that? Okay, that's really small, that one right there. Okay, so I took these 7 stones that were about that size, and what I did was I like, the only way I learned how to do any of this is by trial and error. You know, I didn't know how to type a little boy water drum. I didn't know what stones to use. I didn't know how to do anything. So you just do it by trial and error. And so I took these stones and I tied them up. They're really small. I said, how do you get really small stones tied up into a little boy water drum? Apparently these stones, they belong to a guy by the name of Porky White. And Deb White, his wife, is the one that gave me these stones. And one of these stones was flat, and it wasn't round like the other 6. So I kept trying. I tied them up a few times, but the flat one didn't seem to fit with the other 6. So I tried out what would happen if I replaced that flat stone with another stone with the other 6. So I did that, tied them up. And then I was untying the little boy water drum. And all of a sudden, and these things, they always happen when I'm alone. All of a sudden, the table that it was sitting on, it was made out of glass, it shattered. And I said, that's impossible. The drum is not that heavy. It cannot shatter that glass. I said, that's impossible. And it shattered. And then my dog went running, got scared. And I was so amazed by it. And I took a picture of it. I took a picture of what just happened. And then I sent it to my wife. And I said, guess what just happened? And so across the lake where my camp is up in Canada, there's a medicine man that runs a shaking tent. So I went over there and I went and asked, why did it shatter? And the answer that I received was that little wee flat rock, the grandfather flat rock, wants to be part of the bundle, wants to be part of the original 7. He did not like being separated from the rest of the other 6. I said, really? I said, wow. So now what I do is I take that flat stone and I include him. I said, don't be shattering any more tables. You don't have to tell me. You don't have to shatter my tables to do this. So at home here, my wife and I, what we're doing is we're downsizing. And what are the chances that I would find a stone that looks like this? You know, what are the chances? So what I did was I now have 7 that are that size. So what am I going to do with that flat one? You know, I don't want him destroying my glass tables. So what do? So what I did was I put him inside the little boy water drum, and that way he stays inside and he's still part of the bundle, like that. So I finish running a sweat. I bring the little boy water drum in. I untie him, and and before I go to bed, I'm thinking to myself, all right, did I do everything? Did I put everything away? Did I untie a boy water drum? Did I dry up those stones? And then all of a sudden I realized, oh no, I left that little flat rock inside the little boy water drum. So I went outside with my iPhone, and I shone the light right where I dumped the water, and I looked and I couldn't find it anywhere. I went, oh no, I'm going to get another table shattered here. I got to find him. And so I went inside, and this is a trick that my mother taught me. She said, call out to your items. Like if you lose your glasses, where are you, my glasses? Or if you lose your wallet, call out to your wallet. Call out to your items. They all have vibrational energy. So I called out to that little stone. I said, where are you? And all of a sudden I heard from up right above me. I said, I'm up here. And I looked at the drum. It was turned upside down because it was drying, and he was inside there. So I turned it, as soon as I grabbed it, it came falling off. I went, wow. He was just hanging on inside that little boy water drum, you know, and he was still, anymore, if it got any drier, then he would have fell off of there. Okay. And so these are stories that are just amazing to me. You know, they're amazing stories. I got another story of healing to tell you. And it looks like we only got about 6 minutes, so I'll make it quick. My little sister, she had cancer in her ovaries, and she was really worried. And she said, can you bring the little boy water drum over to the house for ceremony? I said, I can. And she said, can you doctor me? I said, well, I don't do the doctoring. The little boy water drum does. And I said, yeah, let's try it. So we sang a healing song. And after the healing song was sung, then she went to the hospital. The very next day, she had a doctor's appointment. And they could not find it inside of her. They couldn't find the cancer anywhere. The little boy water drum had just taken it out of her, and it healed her. And so that's the song I'm going to conclude with. It's a healing song. Now, what I want you guys to think about is, think about all the people that are suffering because of this COVID-19 pandemic. And we all know people that are suffering, that are hurting. Maybe it's you, and maybe it's members of your family. And what we're going to do is we're going to sing that healing song, the one that healed my baby sister. And what you're going to do is you're going to think about the process of healing. And so from this drum, you will receive life. That's the first set of words. The second one is, from this drum will stand you up. And then the third stanza is, from this drum, you will walk on the road. And then the fourth one is, from this drum, you will be happy. Because when you heal, you're happy, joyous, and free. That's the purpose of your life, is to follow your the spiritual road that you promised to walk on when you came here. So I'm going to conclude with that song, with that healing song. The other thing that I find amazing is when this little boy water jump came here, this is his nose. See that? And what I do, I blow the breath of life into him. Now, I had this stone like 4 years ago, and this drum just got here like a month ago. He just got here. What are the chances that I would have a nose that fits exactly right in there? You know, what are the chances? To me, that's amazing. That's how it all works. That's what's amazing about living with a little boy water drum and living with the way that he works in our lives. That's just totally amazing to me. All right, so with your tobacco, all you got to do is think about all the people that need healing. That's all you got to do. And the little boy water drum will send healing to them. Okay? That's all you got to do. Anyway, kionje bematis, anyway, gun, way I way, 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 yo, I way, I way, I way, I way, I way, yo.
Thank you so much, Paybam. We're getting lots of comments in the chat box of thanking you for the stories and the songs and the prayers. It looks like this has been a really good experience for a lot of the folks attending.
Right on.
I realize we're at 2 o'clock and I want to respect everyone's time. I want to say a special thank you to Paybom for spending this time with us and sharing the stories. We hope we will be doing this again in a month on May 26th, where Maria McCoy will be talking with us about healing through time from within. And I hope that you'll all be able to join us again. Make sure that we know that you were here. I think we have recorded everyone, but just in case, if you haven't put your name and contact information into the chat, do so quickly. And we will hopefully see you all again in about a month. Thank you so much, Paybom.
My pleasure. It was fun.
Have a good day, everyone. Be safe. Be well.